Are you ready to meet your video game senior finalists? I am too. This is going to be a great match. First, we welcome from Japan, Yuki Wata! And now let's welcome to the stage, from Korea, Ju-Young Hong! This is going to be a fantastic match, and you are already looking like a fantastic audience. So casters, let's give them what they want, the game.
All right, everybody, give it up for both of these players from Japan and from Korea. Yuki Wata, of course, Ray, we actually got to cast his match last year. Ju-Young Hong, 3-time Korean champion. But let's take a look at some player profiles once we get those set up for you. Yuki Wata on the left, Ju-Young Hong on the right. And Ray, actually a fun fact, both these players made it to the top 8 of the World Championships last year. And, well, guess what? They played.
Yeah, and when you get to the top 8 the year before, that just gives you even more motivation to really improve upon that finish last year. And now you're really gunning for that World Championship title. Both of these players want this so badly, and we see right there Yuki Wata's player profile as well as the 6 Pokemon he's bringing here today.
Yep, Japanese national top 4 finish in the 2016 circuit, and culminating that with a World Championship 2nd place. Of course, you can also add a 2017 to there as well, because you are again in the finals. I talked to him a little bit earlier on before we jumped back here, and he actually said that he didn't do that well at the Japanese national tournament this year, so we'll have to see if that has any effect on how he performs today. Well, I mean, he didn't have any effect yesterday.
Exactly,
right?
He's already made it to the finals. He's put everything that happened in the Japan Cup and in Japan Nationals behind him. He's done fantastically here this weekend, making it to the finals, and you take a look at his team, much more of a standard team that he's probably a lot more confident in, a team that he's had experience with. The Tapu Koko, Tapu Fini, Arcanine, and Kartana core are all very common. More of like a fast mode, some bulkier Pokemon, very nice type resistances to allow you to switch in and out, maneuver your board position. Then you also have the Trick Room mode with that Porygon 2 and Gigalith in case you come up in a team matchup where you really need to rely on that kind of speed control.
Yep, and that team had a big surge in popularity coming in towards the middle part of the season. It's a very standard core, like you said. Over on the other side, Ju-Young Hong, 3-time Korean national champion. Right there, 2015 to 2017, a top 8 world finish in 2014, a 2015 top 16 world finish, and of course a top 8 last year where he unfortunately lost to Yuki Wata. So again, Ju-Young Hong is ready to go, running that team of Porygon 2, Tapu Koko, Arcanine, Kartana, Araquanid, and Mudsdale, so a bit more heavy with the Trick Room support.
Yeah, this time we see 2 Trick Room sweepers in the Mudsdale and the Araquanid. Mudsdale, though, has a very favorable matchup against the Gigalith, as well as the opposing Tapu Koko and Arcanine, so that'll be really interesting to see. But he also has that more of a fast mode in the Tapu Koko, the Kartana, and Arcanine, so it's slightly similar in the style of team composition. The only difference here is the Trick Room sweeper of choice. You've got Mudsdale versus Gigalith, and then for the water type, you have Araquanid versus Tapu Fini. Those are going to be big, and that's going to end up deciding the match, because you have to imagine one of those Pokemon on each side is going to get chosen, so it'll be really interesting to see how these teams match up.
Mudsdale definitely has a much better matchup against that Gigalith. The Gigalith can only chip away at it with possible rock slides or even non-same type attack boosted earthquakes, which will only really boost Mudsdale's defenses, right?
Yeah, and Mudsdale's so tough to take out once it gets those stamina boosts, especially if it has a Bury to heal it up 50% more HP. That is going to be crucial, because once you get Mudsdale low enough and start getting those stamina boosts, it becomes really tough to take out, especially then when it heals all of its HP back.
And here we go, game 1 here in the senior division finals of the Video Game World Championships. Again, everybody give it up for both of these players. Both of these players, very strong trainers, and we are ready to get started here. It is going to be the Arcanine and Tapu Fini leads over on Yuki's side. Ju-Young gonna go ahead and lead with the Tapu Koko and that Porygon 2. So the Tapu Koko's Electric Surge is gonna activate and change the terrain, but Tapu Fini is gonna be the final setter. It looks like Arcanine's Intimidate is gonna activate first, and it is gonna go ahead and drop the attack stat. Not gonna matter too much unless that Porygon 2 is a return variant, as Tapu Fini sets up that Misty Terrain. And here we go, it looks like Porygon 2 is actually gonna get a boost, and that looks like, I believe, a special attack boost.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see because Tapu Koko can always Volt Switch out if need be. You do threaten Tapu Fini. Some Tapu Kokos carry a Z move. These players may already know what the item sets that their opponents are using, so you may already know whether Tapu Koko has that option or not. Either way, it's threatening some damage onto Tapu Fini, even inside of the misty terrain. So you're wondering here if Tapu Koko just wants to Volt Switch out, put a little bit of damage out, and then go into something like an Araquanid, which can come in relatively freely against both the Arcanine and the Tapu Fini. Of course, there might be a predicted Moonblast into that slot to kind of nail that Araquanid switch in, but that's really the only move that you can really hit the Araquanid with at this point.
Here we go, turn 1 of the first game. Tapu Fini is going to protect as Tapu Koko hits into that Tapu Fini protect. Not going to do any damage at all as here we go, a Snarl from that Arcanine. Going to go ahead and drop that special attack set on Porygon 2 and that Tapu Koko. So very, very utility Arcanine here with that Snarl, as Porygon 2 also hits into that Tapu Fini slot with a Thunderbolt.
Yeah, so we saw the Volt Switch and the Thunderbolt both trying to target that Tapu Fini. A lot of Tapu Finis are also running Choice Specs, though this one revealing that it is not because it did go for the Protect there. So it was a smart double up there, trying to get some damage done onto Tapu Fini, which does give Pokemon like Mudsdale, like the Arcanine that are also on Ji-Young's team, quite a bit of a problem. So I like that kind of play, but unfortunately now the Arcanine getting the Snarl off. Now Tapu Koko and Porygon 2, especially outside of electric terrain, just aren't going to be able to do enough damage to the really bulky Tapu Fini, even though it's hit super effective.
Yeah, and Tapu Fini, it is actually the most bulky Pokemon. It has a higher defense stat in both than other Island Guardians, as Porygon 2 switching out. Arcanine going to come in to intimidate the Arcanine on Yuki's side here, which will allow that Tapu Koko to survive much longer. After we have already seen the Snarl, here it is, Tapu Koko going to go for a Nature's Madness instead, bypassing that special attack stat and bringing down Tapu Fini all the way to 50%. And here it is, a Flare Blitz from that Arcanine on Yuki's side, going to connect onto that Tapu Koko over on Ju-Young's side, and that does about 50% right there as Arcanine takes some recoil. And here comes a Muddy Water. It missed.
That's
missed.
Huge.
Big miss right there as Arcanine stays on the field for a much longer time and an accuracy drop. So Muddy Water, one thing that it does get are accuracy drops.
It gives and takes it away because it misses the Arcanine there and then does a surprisingly little amount of damage to Tapu Koko. So that damage combined with the Nature's Madness, revealing that this Tapu Koko is going to be carrying an Assault Vest. So that is going to be very important knowledge for the remainder of this game, as well as Game 2 and potentially Game 3. But Arcanine coming in for free thanks to the Muddy Water miss, and depending on what that Arcanine set is, if it has something like a Wild Charge, it can damage Tapu Fini, maybe try and pick up the knockout there. Either way, it doesn't have to worry about the Arcanine. Tapu Koko can try and Volt Switch out, save it for later, while threatening damage onto Tapu Fini. So there is always that option, but you do still have to watch out for a Tapu Fini Protect.
Yeah, and here we go. Tapu Koko going to switch out on Ju-Young's side. Going to go ahead and replace it with the Porygon 2. Again, going to get yet another download boost, and it is going to be the same as last time. And now the Tapu Fini goes for a Protect, not wanting to risk, like you said, another possible Electric-type attack or even a Wild Charge from that Arcanine. It looks like it's just going to be a double up into that Protect. Oh, no, sorry. Arcanine goes for a Bulldoze. So Yuki's Arcanine going for a Bulldoze here. It is going to go ahead and drop the speed of Porygon 2 and Arcanine. The Porygon 2 speed drop won't matter too much because Porygon 2 itself is a very slow Pokemon. And there it is, another attack from that Porygon 2 into that Tapu Fini slot.
Yeah, so it was a smart play there, going for the Flare Drive, or the Flare Blitz into that slot. Maybe trying to call a Kartana switch in, as that would be the type of move the type of Pokemon you'd want to switch in, predicting maybe like a Volt Switch from Tapu Koko or a potential Wild Charge. Of course, that is always risky against an Arcanine, so it wasn't too likely. Either way, that might be the most damaging attack that Arcanine has, revealing that maybe it doesn't have something like a Wild Charge.
Arcanine over on Yuki's side going to be replaced by that Kartana, and here comes an Extreme Speed from that Arcanine on that Tapu Fini. Does a lot of damage right there. Oh, another Muddy Water miss from that Tapu Fini. So again, missing the important target of that Arcanine to try to slowly whittle away, but again, another accuracy drop. So Tapu Fini doing work by just having those accuracy drops happen, but you don't need accuracy to be able to set up a Trick Room.
Yeah, and we saw the Bulldoze take effect previously, so that Trick Room is going to take advantage now from the Bulldoze. So now Arcanine definitely threatens the Kartana. Muddy Water missed again, so Arcanine is still pretty healthy, and since Tapu Fini doesn't have Choice Specs to boost the damage there, Arcanine isn't in danger of getting KO'd, so it can safely just go for an attack, and Tapu Fini is low enough where if Porygon 2 is able to hit its Thunderbolt, then it can knock it out.
Yep, this is going to be possibly the first KO of the game for Ju-Young. Hopefully one of many. If you're Ju Young, that's probably what you're hoping for, to be able to knock out all of the opponent's Pokemon before, Yuki knocks out his.
Yeah, so of course, if you are this Kartana, you don't want to go for an attack here. The Arcanine is too risky, but no, it switches out.
And it looks like Yuki reacted to that Arcanine switch right there as Mudsdale takes the field. It looks like Tapu Fini just going to go ahead and protect here as well. It looks like Porygon 2 just going to go for a Thunderbolt into that Tapu Fini. Kartana actually goes for an attack here, hits it with the Leaf Blade. So much damage! So much damage from that Leaf Blade on that Kartana, and wow, what a play from Yuki to kind of stay in against an Arcanine and go for a Leaf Blade into that slot. It does get a Beast Boost. It is going to go ahead and boost its attack stat, so big knockout from Yuki.
Yeah, it looked like Ju Young was really predicting something like an Arcanine to switch in, not have Kartana actually go for the attack, staring down the opposing Arcanine, but Yuki predicts that perfectly, nails the Mudsdale on the switch in, picks up the knockout, so that is huge.
Ju Young now taking some time to decide what his best course of action is. Gonna go ahead and switch back in that Tapu Koko, which is a speed Pokemon. And again, that Tapu Koko will be moving last under this Trick Room as it gets up its terrain.
Yeah, of course, it does always depend what that Kartana's item is. Sometimes you see Focus Sash, but sometimes you do see Choice Scarf. So if it is something like a Choice Scarf variant, then it will be moving last rather than the Tapu Koko. But either way, the electric terrain is now set up for Porygon 2. Now if it hits its Thunderbolt, it's doing even more damage, so even if you switch this Tapu Fini out into Arcanine, it does risk taking a lot of damage from a Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and of course, these players, they've played before in the prior tournaments. They probably kind of have an idea of how each player plays. And of course, there's also information floating around the tournament floor, so maybe Ju Young might know what that Kartana is holding. Of course, all the teams are posted on Pokemon.com as well. And here we go, moving into the next turn. Tapu Fini going to preserve itself for later on. Going to try to play a little bit of terrain war as the Arcanine comes back in and goes for yet another Intimidate here. Going to go ahead and drop the attack stat on that Tapu Koko and that Porygon 2. Not going to matter too much. And here it is, yet another Thunderbolt boosted by that electric terrain onto that Arcanine, doing decent amount of damage. And here comes the Tapu Koko going for a Volt Switch into that Kartana slot. So yes, that is for sure a confirmed Scarf Kartana, as now Ju Young gets to readjust the board and bring in another Pokemon, which is going to be that Arcanine.
Yep, and Arcanine's an extremely safe switch in here. Not only do you nullify the Beast Boost previously, but you threaten the Kartana with another Flare Blitz, and you don't really mind at all the Arcanine on Yuki's side of the field.
And here it is, Kartana goes for a Leaf Blade into that slot, doing enough damage to bring back Arcanine down to under 50% right there. No critical hit, so that's good because critical hit ratios are increased with Leaf Blade.
Yep, but since that Kartana did reveal that it is carrying the Choice Scarf, Arcanine does threaten that slot. You can go for a double up into that slot, a combination of Flare Blitz and Thunderbolt. That way, even if something like Tapu Fini comes in, it's taking massive damage and going to go down because it was not healthy enough to take a combination of both of those attacks. Meanwhile, Arcanine got intimidated, not really threatening enough damage to Ju Young's Arcanine, and especially not Porygon 2, which is known for being such a bulky Pokemon.
Yep, and Kartana now going to switch out, force the switch out, does not want to lose that Kartana just yet. Maybe save it for later to operate outside of Trick Room as Tapu Fini comes back in to reduce the amount of damage that Thunderbolt will do to that Arcanine. And it looks like, what
a play. That extreme
self-hit to activate that berry.
Exactly, huge.
Yep, so smart play right there from Yuki to activate his own berry on that Tapu Fini. But here's the Thunderbolt on that Tapu Fini. Does a lot of damage still, and here comes Arcanine over on Ju Young's side. Gonna go for a Flare Blitz into the Arcanine on Yuki's side. So essentially that Tapu Fini gets to come in safely, doesn't get KO'd because that Thunderbolt did hit into that slot.
Yeah, I maybe would have liked to see the double up into that slot, but clearly Ju Young's prioritizing the Arcanine, and it's smart of him to do that because he has Tapu Koko in the back. He doesn't really mind Tapu Lele at this level of HP, especially since Porygon 2 threatens KOs onto it with another Thunderbolt, so might as well get the damage done onto Arcanine. That is what's slightly a bigger threat here because it was pretty healthy. It is a bulky Pokemon and tough to take out, so might as well get some damage into that slot. So I don't mind that play from Ju Young, even though he could have safely double targeted the Kartana slot since it's not able to protect. So instead decides that Arcanine is much more of a threat, goes for that slot with the Flare Blitz. I'm okay with that play.
Yep, and there's still one more turn of Trick Room left, I believe, and Tapu Fini will prefer to operate outside of it as well. Here comes Porygon 2 using this last turn of Trick Room to go for a recover, just kind of healing itself back up. And here we go. Yet another Muddy Water miss. So unfortunate for Yuki. And that is going to hit Porygon 2. But Arcanine, that slot is very good at dodging Muddy Waters. Here comes yet another accuracy drop. And here comes Arcanine again with a Flare Blitz from Ju Young's side, doing so much damage to that Arcanine, but Arcanine barely hangs on as Arcanine on Ju Young's side takes recoil damage, and Arcanine doesn't heal back, so that's good information to have as well, that it's not carrying that pinch berry that a lot of Arcanines usually do. Arcanine, all right, yep, there it is, the Flare Blitz recoil KOs anyway.
Yeah, from the Thunderbolt damage previously, that did kind of reveal that that was an Assault Vest Arcanine, or else it must have been trained to be extremely specially defensive, but in all likelihood it was probably an Assault Vest, but now you kind of get that confirmation there, so very good information heading into the future games, but you do recover with Porygon there. That was nice because if it was lower in HP, this Tapu Koko coming in would be able to threaten the KO, but at this level of HP, it may be able to take a really powerful attack from the Tapu Koko. Arcanine, though, is getting quite low on Juyong's side, and the Tapu Koko in the back, not really at a high enough level of HP to really take out Yuki's Tapu Koko. So right now, Yuki's Tapu Koko looks like it's in a great position to just clean up this game.
Yeah, and it might even be able to get the KO on that Porygon too if it's maybe carrying that Electronium Z, going for 8 Gigavolt Havoc boosted in this electric terrain, which might have been something that Yuki tried to set up for in the previous turn with that Flare Blitz.
Exactly, but you know, some good information still either way for Juyong moving into game 2 and potentially 3, and there it is.
Here it is, the Electrium Z, gonna go for a Gigavolt Havoc, boosted by that electric terrain and also boosted by that same type attack bonus that Tapu Koko loves utilizing so much. Here it comes, that Gigavolt Havoc, for sure a KO on that Arcanine. Gonna be kind of close on that Porygon too, depending on how it is trained. Gonna go ahead and zap away at that Porygon too. It's gonna be kind of close. Here it comes, and Porygon 2 hangs on, such a bulky Pokemon, and Arcanine goes for a Flare Blitz on Juyong's side. Gonna hit into that Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini can hang on with 1 hit point! Oh, so close, and Tapu Fini now goes for... Well, all right, Arcanine's going to go ahead and heal back up anyways with its berries. So one great thing about that Flare Blitz for Juyong is that it does heal back up, and here comes a Moon Blast from that Tapu Fini, just trying to double up into that Porygon 2 and gets the KO. Yeah, big knockout there from Yuki.
He's seen enough muddy water misses, doesn't want to risk it, just cleans up the KO there on Porygon 2 because he knows if he is able to get that KO, he's able to clean up with the remainder of his Pokemon left because Arcanine pretty low, although did get to heal back up. But then Tapu Koko comes in, and this Pokemon is extremely low, and we saw it was carrying an Assault Vest, so it's not the type of Pokemon that's going to be threatening the level of damage that maybe Yuki's Tapu Koko is threatening.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of trainers, when they do carry that Electrium Z, they kind of train it to be as powerful as possible. Again, that Porygon 2 survived that Gigavolt Havoc, but again, just using that Moon Blast just to make sure that that Porygon 2 got KO'd. Great call right there from Yuki.
Yeah, smart by Yuki. So the Tapu Fini, though, hanging on with 1 HP was huge because if Porygon 2 was able to get an attack off, that would have been potentially a very game-changing moment if he went for something like a Recover to try and heal all that damage back up, because then Tapu Koko, without its Z-move, really not able to do enough damage to bulky Pokemon like Porygon 2, so that was huge.
Yep, and here we go. Yuki's Tapu Koko now going to protect. Gonna try to see what the Tapu Koko over on Juyong's side goes for, and there it is, an extreme speed from that Arcanine, gonna connect onto that Tapu Fini and pick up that last bit of damage that it needed from the previous turn. And here it is,
Sky Drop into the Protect.
All right, so Tapu Koko really trying to pick up the other Tapu Koko.
Yeah, wants to protect Arcanine in the future turn against this Kartana, so smart play, and we know this Kartana is Choice Scarf. Unfortunately, though, Tapu Koko unable to protect itself since it is Assault Vest, so Kartana can safely target that slot if it does want to prioritize taking out the Tapu Koko. However, this Arcanine, it's going to be really close because this Tapu Koko on Yuki's side is still at full HP, and it is more of an offensive variant, as we did see, so the level of damage it can do to this Arcanine is going to be pretty high.
Yeah, so it's going to be, oh boy, it's a tough call, right? Do you go for the easy KO on that Tapu Koko, or do you try to double up into that Arcanine, hoping it doesn't protect to try to get the KO there?
I think you go for the KO into Tapu Koko. That forces Arcanine to Flare Blitz the Kartana. That recoil damage may put it into Thunderbolt KO range, but Yuki is going to know that calculation better than either of us will.
Yep, and there's the Leaf Blade, connects onto Tapu Koko over on Juyong's side. There's a critical hit, just gravy on top. So much damage right there as Kartana gets another attack boost, but most likely that Arcanine is just going to go ahead and try to get the KO. Here's that Thunderbolt from Yuki's Tapu Koko, connects onto Arcanine, bring it down to about 30%, and here it is, the Flare Blitz on that Kartana slot, and that should be able to set up an end game for Yuki with that Tapu Koko just easily getting that KO on that Arcanine.
Yeah, Tapu Koko's too fast, and Arcanine does barely hang on, but an extreme speed critical hit not going to be enough to take out the full HP Tapu Koko. So right now, Yuki is in a great position here to take game number 1.
Yeah, what great what great board position that Yuki always tried to maintain, and there it is. Ju Young forfeits that game, and Yuki Wada goes up 1-0 here at the Senior Division Finals at the 2017 World Championships.
Yeah, the huge turning point that match, though, was calling that Mudsdale switch and hitting it with a Leaf Blade, picking up that one-hit KO, because we saw Tapu Koko was in the back, threatened a lot of damage. It was the cleanup sweeper, but if Mudsdale was still around, it would have been able to carry that game for Ju Young. So I think if you're Ju Young in game number 2, try and conserve Mudsdale a little bit better. Now, that was such a risky Leaf Blade into that slot, so all the props in the world to Yuki from calling that, but that was very risky. I think if Ju Young just played that a little safer and kept Arcanine in to target the Kartana slot with a Flare Blitz and just saved Mudsdale a little bit later, considering Arcanine was never in danger of Tapu Fini knocking it out since it's not a Choice Specs Tapu Fini, I think that was a safer play. Conserve Mudsdale for later, but you definitely saw what he was going for. You can't expect Kartana to just stay in and Leaf Blade an Arcanine slot. You had to imagine Kartana was going to switch out for the Arcanine. That would have been very safe for Yuki to do, so Ju Young tries to call that, bring in his Mudsdale, but unfortunately this is such high-level play. Two of the best players in the world. Unfortunately, Yuki calls that, and that was a turning point in that first game.
You could even see Yuki react to that. I saw the fist pump right when he saw that Arcanine leave the field, and again, that was a very gutsy call to, you know, just leave that Kartana in. I remember talking to the players before the tournament. Again, you know, a lot of players were strategizing, trying to figure out how the matchup would work. So, you know, Ju Young maybe already knew that it was Kartana, but was worried about some sort of mind game that was going on right there.
Yeah, especially because if Ju Young knows it's Scarf at the time, and then Yuki knows that Ju Young knows it's Scarf, that's going to alter the mind games even more. Knowing what your opponent knows, you know, it just adds another level to it. So huge there by Yuki to make that call. But here's game number 2. Ju Young has to win this to force a game number 3. This is one last ride for Ju Young.
Yep, exactly, Ray. One last ride for Ju Young. One last ride for that Mudsdale. You know, preserve that Mudsdale. That's your call. That's your key to the game. And we'll have to see, you know, the viewers in the audience, the viewers at home will have to see if that Mudsdale preservation will pay off huge for Ju Young. Getting ready now to jump into game 2. The players are ready to send out their Pokemon. It looks like Ju Young is going to go ahead and send Araquanid and Tapu Koko. So Araquanid making an appearance here in the World Championship Finals versus Porygon 2 and Tapu Fini over on Yuki's side here. It looks like the Electric Train is going to activate. Of course, Tapu Fini is slower, so it will get to activate. Yuki may be looking to set up a Trick Room, but of course, Araquanid is on the other side.
Yeah, so it's always dangerous against Araquanid because of just how much damage it threatens. Even, you know, if something like Kartana switches in, if that Araquanid is Z-move, even Kartana is going to take a lot of damage to the point where even, you know, an Assault Vest Tapu Koko, which is known to be a lot bulkier and not as offensive, you know, a combination of attacks from those two could be enough to take out something like a Kartana. So it's really difficult to switch into this Araquanid. Porygon 2, not a Pokemon that carries Protect, so it's definitely at risk this turn from this exact combination.
Here comes a Nature's Madness onto that Porygon 2, going to bring it down to 50% of its hit points, and it looks like the Tapu Fini over on Yuki's side goes for a Moonblast, hitting that Tapu Koko on Ju Young's side, and here comes a Thunderbolt from that Porygon 2, hitting into that Araquanid, but Araquanid is a pretty bulky Pokemon. It actually gets to go for an attack here. It is going to be a Liquidation onto that Porygon 2, but Porygon 2 barely hangs on, but it is now heavily threatened by that Tapu Koko on Ju Young's side.
Yeah, there you see the benefit of the Assault Vest. Tapu Koko takes very little amount of damage from the Moonblast. Meanwhile, knocks out half of Porygon 2's HP despite being trained to be extremely bulky rather than offensive. And now it's going to be in KO range for a Thunderbolt from this Tapu Koko, or even a Volt Switch if you would rather adjust your board position. But we saw there the Misty Terrain actually helping Ju Young because that Thunderbolt from Porygon didn't even do half of Araquanid's HP.
No, not at all. I mean, that's such a bulky Pokemon, and that's one of the benefits of running slower Pokemon. You know, you can kind of invest more in bulk instead of investing in speed to try to outspeed other threats.
Yeah, though Araquanid also has a monstrous special defense, so it can really take those hard-hitting Thunderbolts.
Yep, and here it comes. It looks like Tapu Koko is also going to go for a Volt Switch. Oh! Porygon 2 barely hangs on with just one hit point. So Ju Young right there thinking that that Volt Switch would be enough, but unfortunately it is not for Ju Young. Now Tapu Koko switches out and now gets to send in one Pokemon. What is going to take the field of that Tapu Koko? It is going to be the Arcanine. Can take that Moonblast a little bit better, but this allows Porygon 2 to possibly go for a recover here and stay out of Liquidation KO range. And here it is, Tapu Fini finally connects with that Muddy Water onto that Arcanine slot. Of course, there's also that chance for... Oh! So much damage onto that Arcanine with a critical hit right there, and an accuracy drop as well. but Arcanine does get to eat away at its berry and heal back 50% of its health. Now Porygon 2 gets to move on the field, gonna go for yet another Thunderbolt, gonna hit onto that Araquanid. It is gonna be close, but Araquanid hangs on, and here it is another, looks like it's just gonna be a Bug Bite into that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, so, you know...
And it's gonna steal its berry.
That could be big.
All right, the Bug Bite hitting that Tapu Fini and stealing that berry doesn't get confused, so that's the right kind of berry.
Yes, that was definitely an interesting turn there. Now, it's easy to say that this is because of hindsight, but I would have actually liked to see the Thunderbolt into that Porygon 2 slot. Because you have the Assault Vest on Tapu Koko, you're really not scared of this Tapu Fini at all, so I'd rather actually stay in. Even though you don't have the terrain advantage, I'd rather keep Tapu Koko in and just go for the Thunderbolt there.
Ensure the KO.
That ensures the KO, though even I thought Volt Switch would have knocked it out, but I still would have gone for the Thunderbolt just because I'd rather have Tapu Koko in there since I have the Assault Vest. I don't want to even risk a potential Muddy Water onto Arcanine or whatever else is in the back there, so I'd rather have kept Tapu Koko in. Unfortunately, though, for Ju-Young, he does get his Arcanine in, staring down a critical hit Muddy Water and an accuracy drop. Not what Arcanine wants to see switching in.
Arcanine forces switch right back out, does not want to lose it just yet. Tapu Koko is going to take the field. Going to go ahead and change the terrain. It will match up a little bit better against this Tapu Fini in the electric terrain instead of that misty terrain, and here it comes an Araquanid Protect. So this might be an opportunity for Porygon 2 to possibly set up a recover, and here it comes a Muddy Water again from that Tapu Fini. Going to connect onto that Tapu Koko. There is always that chance for an accuracy drop, but no accuracy drop there as Porygon 2 goes for a Thunderbolt into that Araquanid slot.
Yeah, so you do get Tapu Koko back out with the electric terrain up, but maybe I would have liked to see this, you know, a little bit earlier rather than Volt switching out, have Tapu Koko stay in, because we saw how eager Ju-Young was to get this Tapu Koko back in, knowing that it just faces no threat of damage from this Tapu Fini thanks to the Assault Vest. But now he's still, you know, in a pretty good spot. He stole Tapu Fini's berry to heal his Araquanid back up. Tapu Koko does threaten KOs onto Porygon 2 and a lot of damage onto Tapu Fini. Araquanid also doesn't really care about Tapu Fini's damage since it has monstrous special defense, so it's still not a bad position for Ju-Young here. He's definitely in, you know, a really good spot with the board position that he has right now.
And starting the next turn here, Tapu Fini gonna preserve itself with a Protect, not wanting to take a possible attack from that Tapu Koko, but instead Tapu Koko goes for a Thunderbolt, just making sure to get the KO on that Porygon 2, not allowing it to recover before Araquanid can go for an attack, and Araquanid is forced to attack into that Tapu Fini Protect since there's no other targets on the field.
Yeah, I think he more wanted to go for the Thunderbolt there because he didn't want to switch out with Volt Switch, which, I mean, if he was going to do that, I would have rather liked to see it a couple of turns ago, but still, he's got the electric terrain up. That can be big here because you are threatening more damage onto Tapu Fini, but now Tapu Koko is low enough where this Choice Scarf Kartana is going to be able to knock it out. You do have Arcanine in the back, but a combination of a Leaf Blade and a Muddy Waters just threatens too much damage, and Araquanid not able to deal enough damage to either of these two Pokemon since they both resist the Liquidation.
Yeah, and Araquanid might be forced to switch out. You can go for a possible Bug Bite on that Kartana, but again, that is such a high physical defense that's not going to matter anyways.
Yeah, if you're Ju-Young, it's really tough to decide what to do. Do you know, depending on how he's trained as Tapu Koko, do you maybe... I mean, if it's really bulky and maybe even has some physical defense training, do you switch out Araquanid for Arcanine and try and hope that maybe the Intimidate's enough?
No switch. Nope. Leaf Blade hits that Tapu Koko and gets the KO. The Tapu Koko will not be around to deal with that Tapu Fini just a little bit better. Kartana is going to get another Beast Boost. It is going to be locked into Leaf Blade, and here comes a Muddy Water from that Tapu Fini. Gonna hit, just covering the bases in case Arcanine switched in. Araquanid does not have an accuracy drop, and here comes Araquanid with a Liquidation into that Tapu Fini slot, and it still does a lot of damage thanks to that Water Bubble ability, and also a stat drop.
Yeah, so now you have to imagine Arcanine's going to come back in here. It does threaten the Kartana, and it is faster than the Tapu Fini. And we know Kartana isn't able to protect since it's Choice Scarf, so Arcanine is a little bit safer here. It's going to be really interesting to see what Ju-Young goes for with the Arcanine. Does he maybe predict Kartana switching out and end up double targeting the Tapu Fini slot, hoping that he can maybe pick up a KO? It's going to be really interesting to see how this turn plays out because, I mean, this is such a deciding moment in the match with all these KOs being threatened on multiple Pokemon. You've got to be able to predict what your opponent's going to do here.
Yeah, and now it might be tempting because that Tapu Fini does have a defense stat drop from that Liquidation that, you know, maybe Arachnid might be able to get a KO if it is carrying the Z move, which a lot of Arachnids do, because it gets boosted by that Waterium.
It's entirely possible that Juyong is just hiding this Z move and is ready to just launch it at the opportune time, not wanting to launch it into a Protect, but instead we see Arachnid be the one to protect itself.
Arachnid forced to protect here because it does not want to take a Leaf Blade from that Kartana there, which it does, and now Arcanine gets to go for a Flare Blitz here. Gonna hit that Kartana and easily be a one-hit KO. Big knockout right there from Juyong's side to remove that Scarf threat over on Yuki's side. A lot of recoil. And here comes, it's going to be the Muddy Water. Hits in that Arachnid Protect, and going to connect on that Arcanine as well, and should be enough to get the KO.
Yeah, so clearly Yuki there was okay to take a trade there. Kartana for the Arcanine, decide to leaving Kartana in rather than risk some kind of prediction, decides, you know, he's comfortable with his position. He knows Tapu Fini is pretty good against Arachnid at this stage. Decides he's okay trading that Kartana for the Arcanine, and especially since he's got this Tapu Koko in the back. But this is the Mudsdale.
One last ride, Ray. The Mudsdale hits that field. Mudsdale matches up very well against that Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko matches up very well against that Arachnid. So
yeah, and then Tapu Fini matches up very well against Mudsdale, and we saw Arachnid just go for the Protect last turn, so it's not going to be able to protect itself this turn with the same odds as last turn.
Oh, here we go. It looks like Tapu Fini is going to protect here. Not going to want to take a possible attack from either part. Oh! Double protect from that Arachnid. It's going to hang on. Mudsdale has free reign right now to attack that Tapu Koko, but is it going to be enough to KO that Tapu Koko? Here it is, the high horsepower connects on that Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko gets KO'd.
That's huge.
Big knockout right there from Juyong. Big double protect right there from that Arachnid. Oh boy.
Double Protect not too likely to happen, but it's not negligible. It's actually, you know, a very realistic chance, and that was Juyong's big hope to make his comeback in this match, and he knew that was his only win condition, so he went for it. He got it, and now he's in a good position here because his Tapu Fini is not offensive enough, and Mudsdale is very dangerous here, is going to be able to do enough damage as long as Muddy Water doesn't get too many accuracy drops.
The Muddy Water does a lot of damage to that Mudsdale right there. No accuracy drops, and it looks like the stamina boost is going to go ahead and activate and boost Mudsdale's defense by one stage. And here it comes.
There it is.
The Waterium Z going to go for a very powerful Hydro Vortex with that defense drop from earlier, with that liquidation. Should be enough to KO. And guess what, Ray? Saddle up. We are going to Game 3 here at the World Championships.
Oh boy, so excited. I love Mudsdale. Mudsdale was the key in this match, as well as that double protect and the prediction, making sure to conserve Mudsdale till the very end because Juyong knew that he needed it for that Tapu Koko, saw how much of a threat it was. Look at that damage there.
Big damage right there, and here we go. Game 3 between Juyong Hong of Korea versus Yuki Wada of Japan. Yuki Wada was the runner-up last year here in the World Championships. He wants this championship. He wants to be able to take it home. Is he going to have what it takes?
Yeah, he's come so close last year, coming so close this year. If he loses again in the finals, that's 2 back-to-back second places. You know he's hungry for a victory. This is his biggest opportunity yet. He's going to be going for it hard in game number 3.
Oh boy, really, the adjustment that Juyong made to protect that Mudsdale a lot better it paid off so well.
Oh yeah, especially that trade. It ended up being more favorable for Juyong in that game, trading the Arcanine for the Kartana, because Kartana was the huge threat to both Mudsdale and Arachnid, so that trade was incredibly worth it to Juyong. You have to imagine Yuki really regretting, you know, letting his Kartana go down that easily.
Into what was easily a protect coming from that Arachnid, right?
All you can really do, though, is look towards Game 3, make the adjustment here. So that's kind of the risk with using Choice Scarf Pokemon like the Garchomp, like the Kartana, like the Neolego, because they can get KO'd so much easier by a super effective hit. You know, if you're in a tough matchup where you're threatening a KO on one Pokemon but getting threatened for a KO by the other Pokemon, you've really got to make a key prediction and decide, is that Pokemon going to protect? What are they going to do? I mean, you got to just make the right call. Sometimes it's almost like a guessing game, or if you've got history playing against this opponent, you can kind of, you know, figure out what their tendencies are, but still, you don't want to be playing that kind of game. I much prefer playing a risk-averse style and only making those kind of risky predictions when you really need to, but that match ended up paying out for Juyong.
And Ray, both of these players are taking a lot of time to make their selection. Yuki finally locking in his selection here with his tournament life on the line. Juyong now taking a little bit more time as well, trying to make sure that he has the right for Mudsdale. Is it the play?
I think it is. I don't know if the Porygon is the play, though, from Yuki. It didn't really do a whole lot. The damage was a little bit negligible to the Araquanid outside of electric terrain, thanks to Araquanid's massive special defense. That Bug Bite ended up healing it back up, so that was incredibly cool to see. And definitely a good answer to Tapu Fini, making it much easier to take out the Tapu Fini. So I did like the adjustment of bringing the Araquanid. It definitely put in work that match.
And here we go, both players ready now to jump into Game 3. This is going to be the last game here, winner take all at the World Championships in the Senior Division. Tapu Koko and Porygon 2 are the leads for Ju Young from Korea. Arcanine and Tapu Fini are the leads for Yuki Wada. Again, Misty Terrain is going to be the final terrain to be set up because Tapu Fini is slower, as Arcanine gets to go for and Intimidate onto that Porygon 2 and that Tapu Koko. Not going to matter too much here, as Tapu Fini's Misty Terrain, like I said, will take effect. Porygon 2 is going to be able to get a download boost here, and I believe that was, well, I missed it.
Yeah, okay, so definitely reminiscent of Game 1 here, because Tapu Koko and Porygon are threatening Thunderbolts into the Tapu Fini, but we saw in Game 1 Tapu Fini went for a Protect. You have to imagine, is the same thing going to happen this turn, or do we see some adjustments? Maybe Ju Young rather Volt switching the Arcanine slot to get his Tapu Koko out of there, and then if by chance Arcanine does Protect, preventing Tapu Koko from switching out, it does have the Assault Vest at least to not really care about Tapu Fini as much, because it's not able to do enough damage to it. So it'll be interesting to see if Ju Young decides to Volt Switch and double into that Tapu Fini slot, or just Volt Switch the Arcanine, try and get his Araquanid in, because Araquanid doesn't really mind Tapu Fini or Arcanine.
Yeah, and boy, this is so tense right now, Ray. This is the final game. There's so many things that could possibly happen, and we're ready to get started. Oh boy. It looks like the attack from Tapu Koko missed. Nature Power is not the most accurate move. It can miss every once in a while. And Nature's Madness, and Tapu Fini connects with a Muddy Water as well after Arcanine goes for a Flare Blitz into that Tapu Koko slot. That's bulky Tapu Koko, and it hangs on with an accuracy drop on that Porygon 2. Here it comes. It's going to be a Thunderbolt hitting that Arcanine slot. Oh boy, okay, that's not that bad of damage.
Yeah, it was pretty low damage on the Arcanine because of that Assault Vest, and especially outside of the electric terrain. Unfortunately, though, that Nature's Madness missed. It's not 100% accuracy, so it's always risky using that type of move, but that's how things sometimes go. But the Assault Vest definitely paying dividends there. Tapu Koko did hang on, although it is at risk from a potential Extreme Speed, so you do want to get it out of there, even though, you'd love to get an attack off with it. Another attempt at a Nature's Madness, but staring down the Arcanine, you just have to switch it out. And Porygon 2 just not threatening enough damage. Outside of electric terrain, Tapu Fini is too bulky, doesn't care about the Thunderbolt. Arcanine's Assault Vest, it also doesn't care about Thunderbolt.
Oh, there it is. No switch right there. The Extreme Speed connects onto Tapu Koko, and Tapu Koko gets knocked out on Ju Young's side.
Calm Mind.
Calm Mind. Okay. Well, this Tapu Fini is trying to set up here. It's getting a special attack and a special defense boost. Not going to take that much damage from that Porygon 2 anymore. The Thunderbolt connects on that Tapu Fini. It's super effective, but again, that Calm Mind with that special defense boost doing a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. So Yuki's out to a great position here. Hasn't taken much damage at all, and this Tapu Fini does now have a boost, so it is threatening a lot more damage. Mudsdale coming in, though, while it does threaten physical damage onto the Tapu Fini and good damage against the Arcanine, threatening a super effective hit onto it. Unfortunately, speed is not in Ju Young's advantage. You have to imagine he wants to try and get Trick Room up this turn, but with how bulky the Porygon 2 is, will be able to take both attacks from Arcanine and Tapu Fini, so I think you just have to go for the Protect with Mudsdale, try and get Trick Room up, and hope Mudsdale is able to sweep Yuki's team.
And no Protect right there from that Mudsdale. It's going to be a Flare Blitz connecting onto that Porygon 2. Is Tapu Fini trying to double up to get that Trick Room threat off the field? Here comes a Moonblast connecting onto Porygon 2. With that Calm Mind, Porygon 2 so bulky hangs on, and here comes a high horsepower connecting on that Tapu Fini, doing so much damage. Is it going to be enough to activate the berry? No, it's not enough to activate the berry, and here comes Trick Room.
Yeah, that's huge. You get Trick Room up for the Mudsdale, and Porygon 2 is also slower than both of these two Pokemon. So Porygon 2, as long as you can get Arcanine off the field and then bring it back in later, you can avoid the Extreme Speed threat and try and recover up before it takes any damage. Meanwhile, this Mudsdale threatening damage onto both of these two Pokemon. It can decide which one it wants to knock out. And Tapu Fini, like you mentioned, it was big. That Bury did not get triggered, so it's not going to heal back up. Now it's in KO range. However, this Arcanine, if it's predicting Porygon 2 to switch out, might even go for an Extreme Speed into your own Tapu Fini. So we've seen that before.
He's willing to do it.
Yeah, so it again comes down to another mind game.
Yep. Is Yuki going to go for an extreme speed just to do a little bit of chip damage to proc that berry? We've seen him have the courage to do it before. It's a high risk, high reward play sometimes, but in this case, it's very high reward. No, extreme speed. High horsepower connects on the top Phoenix, removes a big threat over on Yuki's side of the field here. So 2 Island Guardian Pokemon have been knocked out, 1 on each side, and Porygon 2 going for a Thunderbolt, gonna hit that Arcanine again. That Assault Vest, so good, because it just makes sure that it doesn't do that much damage, and Porygon 2 gets KO'd. So Ju-Young now down to his last 2 Pokemon, 3 turns of Trick Room left to operate in, and is that gonna be enough for Ju-Young to try to seal the deal, or is Yuki Wada going to go ahead and walk away?
Yeah, I'm starting to think, I wonder if Ju-Young wanted his Porygon 2 to get knocked out so that he can take more advantage of Trick Room, since he saw Porygon 2 not doing a whole lot of damage here, would rather sacrifice it, bring a Pokemon in while Trick Room is still in effect, and really threaten out a lot of damage against Yuki's 3 remaining Pokemon, so we'll have to see if that's the case.
And here comes Arcanine over on Ju-Young's side with that Intimidate ability as that last Pokemon. It is going to be able to intimidate the Arcanine over on Yuki's side as the Electric Train is going to come out. Mudsdale's high horsepower is enough to KO that Tapu Koko as we saw from the previous game.
Yeah, this is really, really good for Ju-Young. He's in a great position, and even if that Kartana's in the back, you have Arcanine around, so I'm really liking this position by Ju-Young. I actually love how he sacrificed Porygon 2 that turn to really get his Arcanine in at the same time as Mudsdale, really put a lot of pressure on Yuki. It's going to be really difficult for Yuki to try and stall out Trick Room here. That's really his only way out. He needs to have Kartana and Tapu Koko out on the field with Trick Room not in effect. That way he can threaten a Leaf Blade onto Mudsdale, threaten his Z move onto the Arcanine, but under Trick Room, he's just not able to get that chance because we saw Mudsdale threatens a KO onto Tapu Koko. This Arcanine is intimidated, it's low in HP, not threatening any damage at all. I'm really, really liking this position for Ju-Young.
It's even a bulkier variant too, so even the damage output, even if it's not intimidating, not that much. Here comes an extreme speed from that Arcanine, hitting that Arcanine over on Ju-Young's side.
And it does connect.
The high horsepower hits that Tapu Koko, gets the KO, and Yuki Wada down to his final 2 Pokemon here. Ju-Young's Arcanine now gets to move. It is going to be a Flare Blitz onto Yuki's. It is not intimidated. There was so much damage, but Arcanine over on Yuki's side does hang on with just 3 hit points, so it does have access to 1 more possible extreme speed, and now it comes down to Yuki's last Pokemon as well.
Yeah, but Tapu Fini is already down, and that's the one answer that Yuki has, but no, it's the Kartana.
Oh no!
And it's Choice Scarf, so we know Arcanine is able to pick up the KO. A critical hit extreme speed from Yuki's Arcanine, not going to be enough to take out Ju-Young's Arcanine. This game is Ju-Young's to lose.
And here we go. This is it, the final turn. It looks like Arcanine on Yuki's side just going for an extreme speed. And no, not enough damage at all. Mudsdale gonna go for that close combat onto that Arcanine. Gets the KO right there. And is this it? Is Mudsdale gonna win that World Championship? Arcanine gets to move right after this. Gonna go for a Flare Blitz right here.
There it is.
Gonna connect, and both players exchange the handshake. And Ju-Young Hong of Korea takes home the World Championship with Mudsdale one last ride.
What an incredible set. We saw Ju-Young make some key adjustments in Game 2 and Game 3. He played that perfectly. We saw just how crucial Mudsdale was in Game number 2 and 3. We saw Araquanid play a huge role in Game number 2, decided to sub it back out once it did its job. He felt like Yuki was going to make an adjustment to that Araquanid. Man, what a series.
Yeah, and Yuki, you know, coming from Japan after a top 4 finish in the 2016 Japanese Nationals, finishing in 2nd place in the 2016 World Championships. Unfortunately for Yuki, finishes here at 2nd place as well. But again, you know, this is